Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Ethereum and its valuations against Bitcoin. As you can see here, I have it already set up. I have them stacked. On the top here, you will see Bitcoin on the weekly chart. The white line is representing the 20-week moving average. The bottom is Ether Bitcoin on the Poloniex exchange. And you might see all these price ranges here. The idea for this video is to see what does Ethereum do in relation to Bitcoin when Bitcoin is below the 20-week moving average. And I'm just going to do one more because I missed that one. So during Ethereum's lifespan, and Poloniex is the longest exchange of price history for Ether Bitcoin. So I have to use Poloniex. And this is going to be important because I think after making that video of three altcoins to look for in the summer, and made my arguments for all three, I also want to take a moment to look at all the other cryptocurrencies, the altcoins that I follow mainly on this channel, and kind of see what we can take out in terms of price data when Bitcoin is below the 20-week moving average. Now, most of them, unfortunately, only kind of launched during the 2017, 2018. So they're not going to have price data until since for as way back as 2015, like Ethereum. So Ethereum would be the first one I'm starting with, or I guess fourth one that I'm starting with to talk about this. And so I have it all mapped out. Let's go from the very back. This one during 2015, I would most likely say, hey, look, like this is just initial launch, but if we really wanted to split hairs here, Bitcoin was below the 20-week moving average at this point in time during 2015 of August to September, and in that time frame, Ethereum bled against Bitcoin about 66%. Okay, so there's one area. The second area would have been during the 2018 bear market. So I'm sure a lot of you experienced this as I did, and it was a multi-month, almost a year long bear market. So from February 2018 to the moments of March 2019, Bitcoin was below the 20-week moving average. In that time frame, Ethereum bled 66.93% from open to close. So again, these points here, to make it very simple, is if you bought the opening price of an Ether Bitcoin on the week where Bitcoin broke the 20-week moving average to the closing day of the closing week of the week where Bitcoin was poised to break out of the 20-week moving average. That is the time length, and that's how I'm measuring it as. So for here, down 66, here, 66, pretty much 67. The next one was during 2019, so this is after Bitcoin went to like $14,000, went back to the 20-week moving average and couldn't hold and broke down. That wasn't as big of a bleed, but it was about 11%, an 11% bleed of Ether Bitcoin. The next one was the coronavirus crash, and from open to close, you're looking at about a 4.41% gain against Bitcoin. So this is the first instance of a positive number. And here we are today. We are 4 weeks in below the 20-week moving average. And in that time frame, Ethereum is roughly down, 1.5%. I would say neutral territory at this moment. It's not even worth it measuring this. But what I want to have you guys visualize here is that Ethereum does not do very well against Bitcoin when Bitcoin is below the 20-week moving average. Unfortunately, Ethereum is not the ultimate hedge against Bitcoin. It is a great coin to hold, and it's amazing when you have the second largest cryptocurrency move up 1,700% against Bitcoin. This recent move, starting from March, the end of March, this move to the top at 0.082 was a 168% move against Bitcoin. Okay, we're not talking about the US dollar. Against Bitcoin, against the US dollar, it's most likely very much higher. With that said, unfortunately, it does not do well when Bitcoin's below the 20-week moving average. And yes, there are instances like what we're seeing now happening and what has happened during the coronavirus crash and even during 2019 where you could argue, hey, look, the bleeding is not as bad, right? And in one out of the five cases, if we're looking at it, Ethereum went up. Well, the move up wasn't as much. And yes, there's 10% and 1.65%, but there are two instances of 66%. Now you can attribute, now we can really divide it and split hairs to say that, look, these two instances, Bitcoin was in a multi-year bear market or just coming off of a bear market. If you want to argue that this entire move here is part of one big cycle, like if we flip it back to Bitcoin, if you believe that this move here is one entire move for Bitcoin, then yeah, I mean this could be just intra-cycle moves within the main cycle. But I don't know if we can definitively say yet if the move starting from April of 2019 to wherever the market cycle top is going to be for Bitcoin is going to be one giant cycle. It could be, and it could then give the impression of lengthening cycles, because that would ultimately make sense rather than measuring the cycle starting from say the coronavirus crash when we got out of 20-week moving average and just consider this like a weird bear market bull market kind of situation, rather talking about this being all encompassing. Regardless, if that is how you view this current cycle, then I would uh, say that these moves here, despite them not being as bad as the previous two drops, shows that Ethereum is very lackluster during times of Bitcoin, like during times while Bitcoin is below the 20-week moving average, which leads me to either A, move back to Bitcoin, because obviously the times that the two out of the three times, if we're just looking at these, two out of the three times Ethereum went down, one time it went up. If we only had to work with three data points, three areas, then I would side to the one that has that was more consistent, which is Ethereum probably goes down. Um, so that's kind of where I'm leaning towards in kind of my view of Ethereum right now. I understand Ethereum's doing very well. It went up to like as high as yeah, 0.077 Bitcoin this week. Like that was the high for this week. It got pretty close to its local high made on the 10th of May, the week of the 10th the week of May. But we have yet to see that break. And my hunch is that it's not going to make a new local high. In fact, it most likely will become a lower high, and we might have a lower low. Anyway, that's pretty much all I really wanted to talk about today, you guys. Just show you the instances of when Bitcoin is below the 20-week moving average, Ethereum doesn't do very well. And even when Bitcoin is in a bull market, Ethereum is capable of dropping very hard, right? Like this was during when Bitcoin's above the 20-week moving average, and Ethereum versus Bitcoin dropped very hard. It dropped about 80% during that period. Okay. So with that said, you know, Ethereum is great, but having just exposure into Ethereum can expose you to drops that you might not be comfortable with. And so that's why it's always important to um, diversify to some degree and have a good exposure to Bitcoin, especially during these times when when Bitcoin is bleeding, but alts are bleeding harder. And so by holding Bitcoin, you de-risk your position and get you and have you less exposed to the market volatility of altcoins. Um, and also by having majority in Bitcoin, you now have the opportunity to buy other altcoins where their Bitcoin valuations are very much lower than they were before. Essentially, if you're buying the dip. But that's all for today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.